Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1461B, and today's date is January 2nd, 2018, and the title of the episode is, This Is It, the events have started, the push is on to take back control. Now, about a week or two, I made an announcement that I'll be accepting people's published work on my website. It could be video, it could be print, really didn't matter. I'm going through the emails right now, and what I'll do is I'll reply to each one of these emails letting you know how we're going to proceed forward. Give me some time. I'm a one-man show here, and I need to go through each and every one and reply to each and every one and make sure I have everything set up properly. Right now I'm setting up the website to do this and to handle this, and once I get through that, I'll be going through the emails. I'll be replying to the emails, so sit tight. It's going to be about a week or two before I can get everything all squared away here, but I will be replying to each and every one of the emails. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we are definitely seeing chaos all over the place, and we saw it start at the end of 2017. Here we're moving into 2018, and we're starting to see the chaos pick up. And I don't think this is going to calm down anytime soon, because I think the cabal at this point, they're going all out and they're pushing every single event all at the same time. Why? Because things are coming down around them very quickly. They knew this was happening and they were planning these events for quite a while. So what we're seeing right now is the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, announced that the State Department will be releasing a portion of the documents found on Anthony Wieners' laptop. And what we're saying right now is Fitton was right. The FBI seized Wieners' laptop, and he was caught sexting with an underage teenager and discovered classified information on the laptop. Now, at least 5 emails were determined to be classified, and they were found among 2,800 documents stored on the laptop, which belonged to Anthony Wiener, and his wife was Uma Abedin. And she was the Deputy Chief of Staff to then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Now, the State Department released hundreds of pages of materials Friday afternoon, including a total of 8 pages classified at the confidential level. And again, Wiener was not supposed to have confidential information on his laptops. The emails, the dates of these emails were from 2010, 2011, and 2012, and concerned discussions with the Middle East leaders, including some from Israel, United Arab Emirates, and other areas. Now, large portions, including entire pages, were redacted before the documents released. 3 of them were sent either to or from an address called BBB Backup, which one email identifies as a backup of a BlackBerry Bold 9700, and that might have been belonging to Uma Abedin. Civilians like Wiener, well, they're not supposed to have classified documents. He doesn't have the proper security clearance. So this is a major problem here. And once again, what is happening is all this information is coming out. All the evidence is coming out, and the cabal understands that it's just a matter of time, and this is why they're pushing their events. Now, we have 2 things happening at the same time here. We have the side of the Trump administration, and we have the side of the cabal, where they're butting heads right now. And this has been going on for quite a while, but this is the battle that we're seeing in front of us. And we see right now out in South Korea, where the cabal is trying to push war out there, we see the South Korean leader, Moon Jae-in, is saying, listen, we would like to have on January 9th high-level talks with the North. The North is saying, listen, we would like to be included in the Winter Olympics. We might attend. So we're going to have to wait to see how this goes, but this is the first part of it where they're agreeing to talk to each other. The last time high-level talks were happening was back in 2015. And we can see right now that the cabal doesn't like this because they want war with North Korea. We see Nikki Haley is out there saying, North Korea better not shoot off another missile or else. You can see right now they're ramping up their events for each one of these countries. It's right now that's in play is Ukraine, Syria, Iran, and North Korea. And they're going back and forth between all these different countries. We see Nigeria right now the president there is saying that they've beat Boko Haram. They are defeated right now. Remember, Boko Haram is part of the paid mercenaries that the cabal uses in all these different countries. And they have many different names for them, but they're all part of the same system. Now, we see the first event happening right in front of our faces. We see the Iran protests. This is not a grassroots uprising. This has nothing to do with the economy being poor and unemployment being at 12% and things like that. Iran has been under sanctions for a very long time. You mean they waited for the exact moment where they're losing in Syria, the Islamic State is beaten, the investigations are continuing in the United States against the cabal. We see that everything out in the Middle East is falling apart, and all of a sudden, Iran is having protests. Does that make any sense? No. We see right now that they're doing a huge Twitter push to make sure that this is being pushed out there, saying that there's a regime change in the winds. We see that there's a lot going on right now. And if we really look at this, we can see that this whole thing looks exactly like Libya, like Lebanon, like Syria, like Ukraine, and it's not the full country. What they've done is they've taken small groups. These are not grassroots type demonstrations. They placed them into many different cities, and they started out very peacefully. But that didn't last too long. Then all of a sudden, it turned into violence. It wasn't the Iranian government coming down, actually. It was the violence from the protesters. This is how you know that something is going on. They started to riot. They started to shoot at the police. And you can see there's many different clips, like of someone, one of the protesters burning the Iranian flag. But you remember, the camera angles are very close. They only show certain parts to make it look like it's much bigger than it really is. Now, at the same time that all this is happening, we see pro-government demonstrations out there, and they're much, much larger than the demonstrations that are being reported now by the corporate media. And we can see right now that a lot is happening at the same time, and they're trying to make it seem like that everyone in the country is protesting right now, and that's not the case. Actually, we see the president of Iran is saying, listen, we shouldn't be using violence. Let's calm the situation down. Again, we see people have been killed in the protests, and of course, they're making it seem like the Iranian forces are coming down on the protesters, which actually the opposite is happening. And you see that this is all taking place at the same time. Now, what's very interesting is that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's out there. He delivered a televised message directed at Iran via YouTube, wishing the Iranian people success in their noble quest for freedom. Now, that sounds great, but what he's really doing is he's out there saying that, yes, this is a grassroots uprising. We want regime change. Israel wanted regime change in Iran for a very long time. And what we're seeing is a lot of propaganda come out. There's a story coming out of Times of Israel saying that the United States has given Israel the green light to assassinate a general. Absolutely ridiculous. Think about this. The United States is saying, yes, the people should have the right to protest. Yes, they should, peacefully. They shouldn't be shooting at individuals. They shouldn't be burning things down. Actually, it reminds me of the protests when Trump was elected, where these individuals went around and they were smashing windows, burning things, and no one was saying anything. And if you look at Libya, you look at Lebanon, you look at Ukraine, and we come to find out that, oh, look, it wasn't the government forces that were firing on the people. We see that it was actually snipers that were hired that were firing on the people and on government forces. So what we're seeing right now is this whole thing has been made up. Now think about this. Netanyahu is out there wishing the success of these people for freedom. Did he say this to the Palestinian people? Brave Palestinians, I wish you freedom. I wish you success and democracy. No. This is how you know it's fake. Because The only time governments wish the people success is if they have a stake in it. Usually, governments will say this is an internal problem. They'll let the country handle their problem. When countries are trying to have regime change, they're all out there talking about regime change. And this is exactly what is happening. And we see that there are many messages, there are many people out there where they're discussing regime change because it's following the same exact script as Libya, Syria, Ukraine. Now, Donald Trump came out with his tweet message. He says, big protests in Iran. The people are finally getting wise as to how their money and wealth is being stolen and squandered on terrorism. Looks like they will not take it any longer. The USA is watching very closely for human rights violations. Now, if you break down his tweet, sounds like he's talking about the United States, more so than Iran. Because didn't he just come up with an executive order about human rights violation? And isn't the United States and Israel the leading sponsors of terrorism? And didn't the cabal squander and take everyone's wealth to fund the terrorist groups? Think about this for a second. Because Hillary Clinton came out with her tweet, the Iranian people, especially the young, are protesting for the freedom and future they deserve. I hope their government responds peacefully and supports their hopes. Now, think about these two messages. Very, very different. Now we have Boris Johnson out there watching events in Iran with concern. Vital that the citizens should have the right to demonstrate peacefully. It's funny, when the Catalonian people were doing their demonstration, who wanted a referendum and who wanted to vote themselves away, you notice how governments weren't behind that at all? No one was behind that, but this they're all behind. Very interesting. We see that Daniel McAdams is out there. Exact same script from Kiev, Libya, etc. Dusted off again. Same words. Particularly cruel when you were preparing to bomb these same citizens to pretend to care about their rights. These people don't care about their rights. They use this. You have to remember, their whole plan, the cabal's plan, was to go into Syria and then eventually get into Iran. They lost the edge in Syria, so now they're working backwards. Remember what General Wesley Clark said back a couple years ago, where they were going to be going into all these different countries, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, then finishing off with Iran? Well, they're actually still on that trajectory. They just skipped over Syria because they couldn't get anywhere with it, so they're trying to go into Iran by focusing on regime change from the inside. This is an event, and you're going to see other events pop up at the same time. They're going to try to create as much chaos, make the world as chaotic as possible right now. We see right now that Syria is saying, listen, Iran's sovereignty should be respected and no one should interfere in Tehran's internal affairs. These countries understand what has happened over time. They realize that it's the U.S., the cabal, the neocons, Israel, the coalition forces who have been meddling in all these countries. Russia is out there saying, listen, it's an internal problem. Let Iran handle this. They tried protests in China. They tried it in Russia, and they were stomped down. Right now, even though the corporate media is out there saying that, all this is happening, the police and internal security forces fully control the situation right now in Tehran and other cities of Iran where the protests are taking place. All you're seeing is small pieces of footage that they want you to see. It's not happening everywhere. It's in small isolated areas where they film, they have certain camera angles, and then boom, they put it out there and they make it seem like it's happening everywhere. They did this here in the United States, where they were showing one or two people doing these things, and it made it seem like this is happening every single place. This is how they try to get people involved. This is how they try to push their agenda. But it looks like it's not working. Russia's foreign ministry pointed out, we express the hope that the situation won't develop under the scenario of bloodshed and violence, because they know what the cabal does. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani pledged on Monday to intensify efforts in order to resolve existing economic problems amid multiple demonstrations across the country. And also what I find very interesting out in Iran is a lot of the signs they're holding up are in English. Why? Because it's meant for the U.S. corporate media, the Western corporate media, to publish this out so people understand what is being said out there. Normally, they would have signs in their own language. They wouldn't have it in English. It'd make no sense whatsoever. But whenever you see this, this is made for us. It's created for us, so we understand what is going on. And we sit there and go, oh my God, this is terrible. The whole thing is made up just like North Korea. They're using the same propaganda. It's the same playbook. They're pushing their agenda. We see right now Trump is cutting money off to Pakistan for being a safe haven for terrorists. And this is exactly right. The United States has given Pakistan more than $33 billion in aid over the last 15 years. And this is where a lot of the terrorists are, and they've been shoved into Afghanistan, moved around the world. They've been trained. They've been trained in Jordan. They've been trained in Qatar. And right now the funding is being shut down. Every time something is being shut down, more evidence being brought, you can see why the neocons, the cabal, they're pushing their agenda. We see China now is moving into Pakistan. China has survey teams in the areas of west of Gwadar and the seaport. They're looking at the One Belt, One Road system, looking to build in this area. And you can see what is happening. China and Russia are moving in economically. The cabal is still pushing their goal to maintain control of the entire situation. That's the whole point of this. They want control of this. Actually, they want control back of the entire thing. And this is why they're trying to create events. This is why they're trying to push war. This is why they're trying to push as much as they possibly can. Since the war is slowly winding down out in Syria, we see right now that businesses are coming back in Syria and they're making investments there. About 5,408 new private industrial facilities out of 11,000 facilities have returned to Syria, and we can see they're setting up shop once again. It's funny how when you remove the paid mercenaries, when you remove the United States from the picture, the countries can thrive again. We see that the cabal is still not giving up in Syria. They're basically taking all the remnants of all the different groups and they're creating the North Syrian army. They're creating the new Syrian army, trying to get back into Syria. And again, the cabal, the neocons, they're not going to give up that easily. And I would expect more events to occur. Not maybe in Iran, but I think something might happen out in North Korea, maybe during the Olympic time, where we see some type of an event. Even though the South Korean president said he'll meet with North Korea looks like they're going to agree, I would see some type of an event where this doesn't happen. The cabal and neocons, they don't want this to happen. They don't want a meeting because if they meet, they might decide to rectify all of this. And they don't want this to happen. So you might see an event occur during the Winter Olympic time or prior to January 9th, or something might happen where January 9th is completely called off. We'll have to wait to see. Or maybe it will happen, but we'll have to wait to see what happens. Because we can see right now, they're getting ready to push different events in different areas. I wouldn't be surprised if something happens in Ukraine. I wouldn't be surprised if something happened in North Korea. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in Syria. Because right now, these are, and Iran, of course, these are all the areas that they are pushing. And I would suspect that in the next month or two, we're going to see a huge, huge push right now because the walls are closing down around them and they need to do something very, very quickly. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.